Hello once again and welcome to Euroman's Movie Report. This week I have watched, of course, the film Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, the sequel to Guy Richies' Sherlock Holmes movie from 2009. Again we see Jude as Watson and Robert Downey Jr. as Sherlock Holmes, and Rachel McAdams, she returns as her role as the German con artist Irina Adler. In this film we finally get to meet Moriarty, Sherlock Holmes' arch enemy, played by Jared Harris, who we are gonna see, for instance, as Ulysses S. Grant in the upcoming big budget Abraham Lincoln movie, which arrives this summer. But back to Sherlock Holmes. As I said in my review in 2009, that the 2009 version of Sherlock Holmes, I grew up with watching the Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes in the BBC series from the 1980s and early 1990s, and Jeremy Brett, who sadly isn't with us anymore, who died of cancer in 1995. He, in my opinion, he's what I see as the Sherlock Holmes, because Robert Downey Jr.'s version, I personally don't like his whole way of portraying Sherlock Holmes. They have turned Sherlock Holmes from this noble British gentleman to this what do I call it, bum-like character who isn't anything like Jeremy Brett's version of Sherlock Holmes. And again, like in the 2009 film, there's this, we have these homosexual undertones between Watson and Sherlock Holmes, and in my opinion that was in this one again a bit too much, because why does Guy Ritchie need to put in these hints that Sherlock Holmes maybe he's a homosexual, and then that's in my opinion a bit misplaced, but that's again up to the viewer. And it was interesting to see this new Professor Moriarty type, but I was again a bit disappointed. I felt that the whole plot, and here's a spoiler, so be warned, that they had turned Moriarty from this Victorian age criminal to this Victorian version of James Bond, Blofeld. You know, the guy who leads Spectra in the original James Bond movies, and that was a bit too much. And again, I felt that watching this Sherlock Holmes was a bit like being in his my views on it. Watching these Sherlock Holmes films is a bit like being in having sex, and then before you reach the climax, having the person you're having sex with withdraw from the scene, because these films attempt to give the audience a thrill, and then when you reach the 1 hour mark, they slowly start to descend down to something, and then they completely grind to a halt, and that seems maybe that's Guy Ritchie's style of writing, but it seemed a bit too much and a bit silly in my opinion, because we have this huge plot in this movie, like in the first one, and then it totally grinds down, and at the end, and and a note, it was for people who have read Sherlock Holmes. You know that there's in one of them, the Conan Doyle novels, I don't remember which one, there's a fight between Professor Moriarty and Sherlock Holmes, which results in them both falling down this waterfall in Switzerland. I don't remember the name of that waterfall, but yeah, and there's a scene in the film with a shortened version of this fight, and that was of course a good thing by Guy Ritchie. But again, having Moriarty being transformed from this Victorian age master criminal to this Victorian version of Blofeld from James Bond, that was stupid in my opinion. But again, yeah, I like Robert Downey Jr. in several other films like the Iron Man films and other work done by Robert Downey Jr. But it seems that his whole portrayal of Sherlock Holmes, it doesn't appeal to me in my opinion. But again, Jude Law as Dr. Watson, he's okay. He's not the best Dr. Watson in my opinion, but he's an okay Dr. Watson. But then again, back to Rachel McAdams' character Irina Adler, who we saw extensively in the first film, who we were led to believe could have been a potential love interest for female love interest for Sherlock Holmes. And here's another spoiler. I don't get why Guy Ritchie chose to kill off Irina Adler in the first act of the movie. Maybe it was the whole revenge plot he needed to do with the fight between the battle between Professor Moriarty and Holmes. But it seemed a bit silly why she wasn't needed for a story. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, but a good addition to the Sherlock Holmes universe was of course the Swedish actress Naomi Rapage, who we originally saw in the Swedish language version of the Stieg Larsson trilogy, where she played Lisbeth Salander, and who we are gonna see in this summer in the release of Ridley Scott's long-awaited prequel for the Alien universe, Prometheus. And she played this gypsy woman who was involved in the plot, and yeah, and she did a good job in my opinion. You couldn't hear that she is a non-English speaker, and she did her role well as this gypsy fortune teller slash rebel. But then again, all in all, this film, yeah, if maybe I'm getting old, but I prefer the old Sherlock Holmes series with Jeremy Brett as Sherlock Holmes. But again, this is a Sherlock Holmes for a new generation who requires and demands different things to get entertained, and yeah, and maybe the younger audience will enjoy this portrayal, this version of Sherlock Holmes, but I don't. It's an okay movie, but it seemed, yeah, it seemed messed up, as I tried to say in my previously, and again, but the special effects, like in the first one from 2009, the Victorian Paris, Victorian London, the trains, the addition of them, the very I don't know what kind of brand that the car, the automobile was, but it was funny to see Dr. Watson and Holmes drive around in this very early version of an automobile. But not to forget, regarding Holmes, his brother Mycroft. There was a small role by Stephen Fry, you know, the British comedian who played Mycroft Holmes, and there was the whole gag about him having this old age, very old butler who walked. There's a scene in the film where he walks around, the butler, he walks around with this tray, and because the butler is is so old. The glasses and the knives and forks and the plates, they shake when he walks around, and that was a bit funny. And then when Holmes says to him, "Oh, you haven't aged today," and then the whole theatre hall laughed, and that was a funny scene in my opinion. But regarding Stephen Fry, he was great as this very eccentric brother of Sherlock Holmes. In many ways, a better addition to the universe than Robert Downey Jr. But again, that's a matter of personal opinion. But to sum up at the end of this review, Jude Law was an okay Watson. I don't like Robert Downey as Sherlock Holmes, but that's a personal preference. And the whole homosexual undertones, that was a bit too much for me. I don't believe that this belongs in the Sherlock Holmes universe. But again, the other actors. Jared Harris as Professor Moriarty, he seemed okay, but I didn't like the way Moriarty was written in this story. But that's again a matter of personal preference. But Stephen Fry as Mycroft Holmes, okay, he's funny and a great actor, and again, Rachel McAdams, too short of a role for her in this one, and that was a bit sad in my opinion. But if I'm gonna rate this film, I would say, 3 out of 5 Cola bottles, because the acting was okay, the special effects were okay, the music was okay, but the story is simply too messed up. Too silly in my opinion. But 3 out of 5 Coca-Cola bottles. And that's it. This is Euroman of Euroman's Movie Report signing off, and I'll return in a couple of days with a roundup of my favorite movies and not favorite movies of 2011. Until then, stay safe. This is Euroman of Euroman's Movie Report signing off. Bye.